On behalf of the USC Saul Price School of Public Policy, I'm so pleased to welcome you to our 90th anniversary celebration here in Sacramento. Most people don't realize this, but we've also been on the ground here in Sacramento for almost 50 years. We first opened our Sacramento Center in 1971 when, you remember, Ronald Reagan was governor of California. And the center was, at that time, located in some stuffy attic space in the Crocker Bank building at the corner of 7th and J Street. So we've come a long way since then. We've had steady growth, and our welcoming center is now located on I Street, and we have our own building in collaboration with USC Government Relations Office. The center has become really, I think, a fixture in Sacramento landscape, a place where students, elected officials, faculty members, influencers, and stakeholders come together to teach and debate about policies on the future of California. This growth represents USC's abiding commitment to the learning and research needs of the state and to public service. From our founding onward, the work of the Price School has been bolstered by strong ties to the California legislature, where we also have some graduates, and political and community leaders throughout the state. It's really integral to what our school is about. So it's also wonderful to have many of these great partnerships reflected in the program here this evening. And I would like to take a moment to thank our speakers. And I'd like to start with USC Interim President, Dr. Wanda M. Austin. We also have two members of the USC Board of Trustees here with us tonight. We have Suzanne Dworak-Peck, who is a member of the Board of Trustees, and we also have Chris Cox, who is the former chairman of the SEC under President George W. Bush, and also a former congressman who is a member of the Board of Trustees. So would you please welcome the two of them as well? In addition, we have Senior Vice President, the Interim Senior Vice President, David Brown. He's the Interim Vice President for External Relations of the University of Southern California. Would you please welcome Vice President Brown? I'm very pleased also that here with us tonight is the Speaker of this Assembly, Anthony Rendon, Senate Majority Leader Bob Hertzberg, who also, in a very important role, serves on the Price School Board of Trustees, and Assemblymember Reggie Jones Sawyer, one of our great Trojans in the legislature, whose district we proudly reside in. And so we are pleased really to have all of you with us this evening as well. I would also like to recognize California State Assembly Member Jose Medina. I think Jose is here as well, yes. And then there are two very important people from the Price School itself that are here. And one is the former dean of the Price School, Ross Clayton. Ross, could you stand up and be recognized? And the other is Professor Emeritus, who's also been president of the American Society for Public Administration and is one of the most prominent public administration scholars of the 20th and 21st century, Chet Newland. And of course, I would also like to give a special thanks to the many people and organizations who have provided financial support for our 90th anniversary. That's hugely important to us. One example is our new public-private fellowship program. It's designed to give our students an experience both in the public sector and the private sector, because a lot of public problem solving now occurs across the sectors, and allows them to gain valuable understanding of the role each plays in advancing our public policy in our society. And I'd like to also finally give a special thank you to Weintraub Tobin, one of our supporters for tonight's reception. Is Weintraub here? All right, thank you. And it is now my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Wanda M. Austin, the interim president of the University of Southern California, who has also served on the USC Board of Trustees since 2010. She's internationally renowned for her work in aeronautics and systems engineering. Her career at the Aerospace Corporation spanned nearly 4 decades, including 8 years as the company's president and CEO. She is a member of the Defense Policy Board, the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and the National Academy of Engineering. Very impressive, both leadership and academic qualifications for this role. And I'm especially appreciative of her taking on this important leadership role in this critical juncture in USC's history, and especially also value her leadership style and commitment to USC's future success. So please join me in welcoming Interim President Wanda Austin.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to see all of you here, and really want to thank you for coming out on this very special occasion. We have had a fantastic day in Sacramento, and it's always great to be reminded about what it looks like when our government is working well. And that is what we experienced today as we had the opportunity to interact with many of our elected officials to talk about important issues. So those conversations were just starting. They're going to continue, and I look forward to being able to make progress on important issues in partnership with others who are doing that work here in Sacramento. So Dean Knott, thank you very much for having me here today. It's really an honor to be here and at our state capitol for this very special anniversary for the USC Price School of Public Policy. For our university, this year marks 9 decades of public policy education. It's a huge contribution to our society. USC Price has helped put California in our nation's vanguard by educating many of the state's top policymakers, researchers, and political leaders. That includes many of you who are here in this room tonight. USC remains committed to that legacy. We remain committed to improving the quality of life for people everywhere through better policies and better governance. We remain committed to diversity and recruiting from the communities that we serve, and we remain committed to excellence. USC Price has steadily risen in academic rankings and is now number 2 in the nation, according to U.S. News and World Report. That's outstanding. So we congratulate you, Dean Knott, and the faculty, staff, alumni, and students of the Price School on that achievement. It is no small accomplishment. I mentioned diversity, which is a key part of our mission as a university. We're working hard to ensure that the next generation of leaders and policymakers understands the needs of a diverse population. One way that we can do that is by making sure that those leaders and policymakers are themselves diverse. We need to do everything we can to ensure that a quality higher education is accessible to all, regardless of the ability to pay. So our delegation has been working on behalf of a very important bill, the College Opportunity Act, sponsored by Assembly Member Blanca Rubio. This would give a big boost to the nearly 28,000 students statewide who receive Cal Grants and are attending private nonprofit colleges and universities, and that includes USC. More than 75% of these students are people of color or from underserved, economically at-risk populations. 48% are Latina. USC has the most Cal Grant students of any private institution. In the previous academic year, we enrolled approximately 2,500 Cal Grant recipients, which amounts to 13% of our student body. More than half of those were first-generation college students. At USC, we have proof that the Cal Grant money is very, very well spent. Our graduation rate for Cal Grant recipients stands at 94%. That's important because not only will you go to USC, you will graduate. And that is a much higher rate than those of our peers, including the University of California system. In fact, USC has a long history of recruiting and educating future leaders from our state's underserved populations. That includes enhanced opportunities for transfer students from California community colleges. Some of our most illustrious alumni, such as Frank Gehry and George Lucas and Forrest Whitaker, started at community colleges. USC provides $320 million of university resources on a needs-based aid each year, more than any other school in America. We hope, thank you. We hope that with the College Opportunity Act, we can make higher education a reality for an even larger number of very deserving students. The impact of USC extends far beyond the classroom. We're not just an institution of higher education, we are also, in many ways, a business and a very successful one. We're one of the largest employers in Los Angeles County, supporting more than 42,000 jobs. Overall, the university generates more than $8 billion in annual economic output for California, including nearly $3 billion in wages. We also partner with local communities to transform the neighborhoods surrounding our two campuses. Right now, we're working round the clock on a $300 million renovation of the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. A major aspect of that project is job training and local hires. 10% of our Coliseum workers are low-income, head-up single-family parent households, or come from another underrepresented group. 17% of the workers live within 5 miles of the Coliseum project, and an additional 13% live within the city limits of Los Angeles. One of these is a woman named Brittany Brown. Brittany is a working mom with a 5-year-old child. She's also a carpenter who is helping replace all of the Coliseum's 75,000 seats. USC's restoration of the Coliseum has given Brittany a chance to work in a skilled job just a few miles from her home in an iconic stadium where she attended a sports camp as a young girl. Now, Brittany says, I think I'll come to a game here next season. She meant to say a winning game here next season. And maybe sit in one of those new seats. By employing local workers, the Coliseum project is fueling economic empowerment and community strength that will impact generations. As interim president of USC, I am here at a time of great opportunity for our university and for our state. We have a new governor, and our university will soon have a new permanent president. Our state will face many challenges, some new, some old, in the coming years, yet I remain confident that working together, our collective futures are brighter than ever. Thank you once again for joining us this evening. Thank you for your support and passion for USC, and always, always, fight on.
Thank you. An honor to be here. I want to thank President Austin. Your academic credentials are quite impressive. You studied aerospace. I studied philosophy. But I assure you, I got a C in science when I was in high school, so we kind of know a lot of the same things, I'm sure. I also want, the president mentioned Jose Medina, who's here, and our resident Trojan, Reggie Jones Sawyer, who asked me how long I was going to speak before I walked on stage. It was going to be 2 minutes, but since you asked that, maybe 2 hours, dude. I don't know. Got some PowerPoints. But Wendy Carrillo is here, who represents the city of Los Angeles. Thank you, Wendy. And another Trojan alum, Mark Berman, is here as well. I'm sure there's senators too, but who cares? Again, it's an honor to be here. I see you, Bob. Honored. I want to give a special shout out to Lois Takahashi from the USC Price Center here in Sacramento. Where's Lois? Lois has been a great contribution to the Sacramento community. Thank you. I was really excited about being here today to help USC Price School celebrate its 90th anniversary. There's a lot to like about USC, about the Price School. Most of all, it's the UCLA Public Policy School recently hired Kevin De Leon onto the faculty, thus solidifying that USC will be my favorite public policy school in Los Angeles. I think Kevin De Leon tried to apply to USC, but he misspelled USC, and the application ended up at UCLA. The other thing, true story, my spell check didn't work, bro. The other thing that's so important is that my wife, Annie, is a USC Price School graduate. And right now she's working on her doctorate at the USC Education School at the Rossier School as well. And from the perspective of somebody who spends half of his time in Northern California and half of his time in Southern California, what's so great about USC, and we were talking about this today, is the extent to which the university has sort of turned itself inside out. It's a university that thinks way beyond the bounds of just the campus itself. It's a university that here in Sacramento helps to educate and make sure that the skills needed for this generation of staffers are that those skills are solidified and acquired. And in Southern California, it's a school that, again, whether it's the arts, whether it's the public policy program, et cetera, it's a university that's always thinking about the greater good within, not only within Southern and Northern California, but within the entire country. So I want to congratulate USC on its 90th birthday and welcome the president to Sacramento. Thank you.
I didn't know Rendon had a sense of humor. That was great. I'm telling Kevin. Although I don't doubt it's true what you said. But in any event, it's just great to be here. I've been on the board, as Dean Knott said. I look back for 13 years, and you know, I sat on a lot of boards in my day in my various capacities, and as I came back to government, I chose to stay on this board because of its importance to all of what we do. I got to tell you, you know, I just wanted a couple of things. I was thinking 90 years ago was 1929. What happened in 1929? Public policy became a lot more important. But I just want to say this, and the reason why I'm on the board, and the reason why I think this is so important, because, you know, I've been around this stuff for a long time. Actually, Anthony, I was on the payroll when Ronald Reagan was governor, if you can believe that. I know I don't look that old, but I was. And I just watched the role of public policy grow dramatically. And the decisions we have to make in government have changed so dramatically as the pace of government has changed so much. How we comport ourselves is so different. And so the kind of education. Is it something I said? Bye, sir. I just want you to know I still have microphones in his office. Don't tell him, though. But in any event, it's changed at such an incredible pace. And you think about the kinds of demands that we have as public policymakers and for the students who are in the schools, the kind of issues that they address. Think about what's going to happen with the driverless cars. Think about the planning and urban land use and what happens there and how houses are designed. Think about parking structures can be turned into vertical farms that provide food miles for people in cities and the kind of work that needs to be done. Look at the companies that exist today, whether it's Uber or Lyft or all the ride-sharing companies or all the tech companies or all the machine learning companies that have to grapple with extraordinary public policy issues that we've never had to grapple with before. And so to have the #2 rated university school program bringing out people to engage in this kind of discussion, to be able to engage in this kind of deliberation. I've got a lot of USC students, I mentioned earlier at our meeting with President Austin in my office, but just the level of think that's now required, the importance to society is nothing less than extraordinary. So I engage, I stay engaged. As long as you'll have me, I'll stay on the board, I'll stay involved. As I mentioned, I'm also on the Schnitzel board, the Schwartz and Schnitzel board, because I think that's Arnold Schwarzenegger for those who need translation. But that's what we call, I say that to his face, I just want you to know. And he doesn't do anything, but he calls me, Hertzie, how you doing, Hertzie? But in terms of those kinds of issue stuff, cutting-edge stuff that we're doing at SC. So I think this is such an important organization. I'm here. I'm always supportive. I think that USC has transformed so much of Los Angeles in just such an important and elegant way. And I think it's only the first step in a very long march of what we've got to do toward progress and trying to reinvent what that new future is going to look like in this, as Tom Friedman calls, this age of acceleration. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Madam President, and my colleagues who are here. Thank you. And Assembly Member Wendy Carrillo, who's sitting right there.
Thank you. As most people know, in the Assembly and the Senate, I'm the most USC person you'll ever meet in the California State Assembly or Senate. Yesterday, I ate late at the Sheraton and had some bouillabaisse and had food poisoning. I'm still a little rocky. I was planning to sue the Sheraton, and I started looking up everyone's credentials and found out the chef was a Bruin. And so I am really happy to be there because 40-something years ago is when I went, Dean Knott and President Austin, when I went to the School of Public Administration. And when I decided that I wanted to go to college, I had individuals that helped me. And they had me apply to Yale, Pepperdine, LA. There was a Pepperdine in South LA at the time, Malibu, and Occidental, and USC. I got into all of them, waitlisted at Yale. And the final decision actually was proximity, which one I could get to easier, which was USC, which was one of the best decisions I ever made. Because when I got to campus as a freshman, I pledged a fraternity. I think we were national champions. And so I was having a really, 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 really good time at USC. I'm talking about academic probation good time. Later on, I got my act together at a community college and then came back. And while I was walking around BKC, Von Kleinschmidt Center, those who don't know, there was like these people that were just standing around. It was Dr. David Mars, Dr. Terry Cooper, Dr. Robert Biller, and Marva Battle Bay Smith. And Dr. Mars looked at me because I was on the public administration side and said, you know what, you are really, really smart. I can tell. You should not be in the School of Public Political Science. That's for, people not so bright. You need to come over to the School of Public Administration. And so I didn't know any better. I said, if they want me, they got me. They don't know I'm on academic probation, but that's okay. And that welcoming that I got from them was so great that even when I was struggling, is Dr. Terry Cooper still teaching? Oh my God, he was like old then. That was like 40 years ago. What is he, like 100 now? What? Give me his number. I would love to see him again. He was like my ethics teacher. And there was people like Marva Battlebay Smith. And Marva Battlebay Smith was a bigger-in-life person who looked after a lot of students. As an African-American student in a predominantly white campus, she kind of laid the law to make sure I stayed on the straight and narrow. And I remember not coming to class a few times, well, more than a few times. And she pulled me to the side, and she looked me right in the eye and said, "Boy, I'll flunk you. You better bring your butt to class, because you're going to have these white people flunk me or have me lose my job." And she looked me right like a laser into my eye. The next year, I was on the dean's list. You should clap. And it was the teachers, the professors at USC that inspired me to do more. You know, I talked about being working for the city of LA, that one day I might be an elected official, which back then seemed like it could never happen. You know, I worked for the city for 25 years. I retired from the city of Los Angeles. I am a recovering bureaucrat who's now an elected official. And I will tell you, what was taught to me back then about being a public administrator was that we are not only the gatekeepers, but we are the knights of government. We're the ones that make sure that everybody does the right thing. You know, I know a lot of people, when I used to work for Dick Riordan, would talk about how, you know, civil service rules were a pain and you had to get around them. And they really weren't. Those people that graduated from SC and other public policy schools, they made sure that we were ethical. And if there were more of us, and I do believe if there were more of us in government, and I can say this now because I'm an elected official, to tell us elected officials that you are doing the wrong thing, that it's illegal, that it's dumb, or sometimes it's just stupid. If we were in there, we probably would have fewer and fewer problems than we have right now. So it took me a little longer than I wanted to graduate. So I was supposed to graduate in '79, and so I had Dr. Ross Clayton eventually sign my diploma, which I'm very proud of. And I am now the chair of the USC Legislative Trojan Caucus, which I'm very proud of. I think it was mentioned before, we have Assemblymember Mark Berman here, if he hasn't left, and Assemblywoman Wendy Carrillo, and there are 9. There are 9 of us and 1 senator. Well, it's like, you know, 8 of us and 1 senator. And so we kind of get together and make sure that we stay together, because in my office, if you come to my office, I have more USC paraphernalia than anybody else in the world. As John Perez once said in my office, it looks like he just walked into a frat house. And I tell him, if the largest employer of my district was someplace like Disneyland, and I had Mickey Mouse all over the place, nobody would say a thing. Since USC is the largest employer in my district, I'm going to put USC all over everywhere in my office. So being the largest employer, great academics, what you're doing with the neighborhood initiative, bringing people from my district, South LA, and Assemblywoman Eloise Reyes is here, and also an alum. Hello, Eloise. I don't think you get enough praise for what you do in the community and how you uplift people who won't have a chance to go to college or junior college if it wasn't for USC. So I commend you on that, especially for bringing them in. It's from what I understand, it's one of the largest classes that come in into USC, and that is our legacy. And so I am here to definitely honor your 90 years. I can't believe that I've been part of like 45 of them, so that shows you how old I am. But I hope to be here when you make it to 100. I hope to be here to celebrate that with you. So with that, Again, I want to thank you on behalf of the legislature, on behalf of coming up here, and really on behalf of Californians who need USC graduates to make sure we do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you all for the speakers for those inspiring words and supportive words. And thank you all also for coming to our 90th anniversary celebration. There's one person here that I should have recognized and I didn't, and I see her over there in the corner, Dr. Janet Denhart, who is the former director of the Sacramento Center. Thank you, Janet. And and Bob is here as well. Bob Denhart is here as well. He's a former professor in the Sacramento Center, and also, I think, former president of the American Society for Public Administration. So we're really pleased to have both of you here with us as well. Some of you may know that in 1929, the founders of the school came together with the governor of California, the mayor of Los Angeles, other dignitaries and faculty members, and they embarked on a flight for civic progress. They flew to several destinations in the state, announcing the formation of the new school and their commitment to public service. From that time on, the Price School has really met each generation of challenges with purpose, principle, and a pioneering spirit, forging solutions to a resilient and just world. You know, we were first called the School of Citizenship in Public Administration, reflecting our founders' focus on civic engagement and the role of citizens in public policy. They didn't really want a government that aggrandized itself, but really one that was striving to improve the quality of life for people in their communities. And that mission is really what animates us still today. And I don't know if Mindy Romero is here. Is Mindy here? Oh, hi, Mindy. Mindy is a faculty member now at the Price School, and she heads our civic engagement project, and we're so pleased to have you as part of this Price School and carry on this great legacy of citizen engagement. So please recognize Mindy. So as a school, we take an interdisciplinary and problem-solving approach to governance, planning, and policy issues that confront society. From the founding of the school, we actually offered courses in urban planning as well as public administration. We also use expertise in data to make a difference. This is very important, especially in today's world. In today's polarized political world, evidence-based policy analysis should be a catalog for dialogue, not a weaponized for political division. One of the main ways we accomplish this is through our 13 research centers, institutes, and initiatives, including the Schwarzenegger Institute for State and Global Policy, which is overseen by former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. I wanted to also mention that the Price School, through these institutes and our research enterprise, has achieved the largest grant portfolio that we ever have. We have a total grant portfolio now of $80 million for the first time in our history, and that's, yes, I think one of the largest in the country. I really appreciate the kind of study, Mindy, that you've done, that you've released, showing substantial increase in voter turnout among young people in California in the last election, also among Latinos and Asian Americans in the midterm election. So we're looking forward to seeing your analysis of the election that's coming up in 2020. As a school, we also help finance, plan, and build vibrant cities that work. One of the things that hasn't been mentioned is we're actually ranked #1 by U.S. News & World Report in urban policy. So people need homes, they need good jobs, they need schools, efficient transportation, good governance, access to health care, and spaces to enjoy with loved ones. And our work supports these fundamental community needs across the school. We also care about good governance and vibrant communities, not only in California, but around the world. One of the really remarkable things about our school is really from the beginning, We have provided advice on urban planning and training on public administrators in countries really across the globe, from the Middle East to South Asia to Asia and South America. And I'm very proud we were global and international before it became fashionable to be a global school today. And importantly, our understanding of public administration and policy is really tied, and this is very important, to a set of social service values. The name public administration in our original title did not just denote efficiency or management. It pointed to a set of values that, in Elliot Richardson's famous statement, include the value of human dignity and equality, as well as such essential contributions to these ends as fairness, tolerance, and mutual respect. And that is something that I think we need to keep in the forefront of our minds when we think about what our school is about. And many of these ideals were also shared by our founders and by our more recent namesake, the Sol Price. You know, he was a visionary entrepreneur. He was a great business leader. But what you may not know, he was also guided by a strong moral compass. He supported public policies and invested in urban development to improve the lives and quality of life for low-income communities, immigrants, and diverse populations. That became part of his mission. And so we are very grateful to the Price family for their incredible investment and commitment to our school, and very proud to have him as the namesake of our school. Throughout the coming year, we're going to celebrate the achievements of the past 9 decades, advancing our goals for academic distinction, and strengthening diversity and inclusion, and elevating our global footprint. But our footprint really starts here in California. And California is the state that plays a very important role, I believe, in America's future. It is a state whose innovative spirit, dynamic economy, care for the environment, and embrace of diversity are an example for the rest of the country. Before I end tonight, I would like to say also how incredibly untouched I am to see all of you here in this beautiful room celebrating our 90th anniversary with us. Thank you very much for coming. But I want to say in conclusion that I'm even more excited and filled with anticipation about the next 10 years as we prepare for our 100th anniversary, and Reggie's going to be there. And all of you, I hope you're going to be there as well. We have an ambition to be the #1 public policy school in the country. And just as important, we have an even greater impact on our respective academic fields and on improving our communities here and abroad. And I really look forward to innovative approaches to educating our next generation of leaders in the public and private sectors, and to becoming a truly global school of public policy. So with all your help and support, we're going to really achieve these ambitious goals. So thank you all very much.